Tonight on Manish, we discuss light skin versus dark skin.
It's even worse when it comes to when people find out that I'm biracial. It's like all my life I had to literally deal with people not being black enough for my black family and being way too fucking black for my Spanish family.
There was this guy there and he was like looking at me and whatnot. And we just started talking. And that phrase came up, you know, I usually don't talk to dark skinned guys, but you're cute, so I'll talk to you. And it didn't hit me at that moment because I was more so in the praise of being the token black one. It didn't hit me in that moment, but after a while, I started hearing that phrase, and I was just like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that every dark-skinned man is ugly? And I'm just a token one? Like, I hate that term. I know females hear it all the time. Like,
tonight on Manish, we talk about one of the biggest issues in the African American community, colorism. What exactly is colorism?
Is colorism still a problem?
Colorism is the prejudicial or preferential treatment
of same-race people
based solely on their color.
We had the light-skinned people in the house, and the darker you are, the further you are in the field. So yeah, that was ingrained in us.
So like putting my hair in a messy bun and putting on sweats and going outside, I couldn't do that because if I do that as a darker skinned woman with my hair nappy and like, then somebody might think I was homeless.
Racism is about race.
but colorism is about how dark your skin is.
Racism usually comes from people from a different ethnic group,
But colorism, that can come from anywhere.
even from someone from the same ethnic group as you.
It's us though, it's us, I'm telling you.
We do it to us.
Yeah, it's us. And remember I was saying earlier, we can't expect people to do what we have not figured out how to do ourselves.
Or somebody would think like, oh, that she didn't shower today or whatever. The lighter you are and the more polished you look is definitely associated.
Folks here.
The way we think about color, the closer you are to whiteness and lightness, good. The closer you are to darkness and black, dirty, bad. We already are black, and so we're already labeled as dirty, bad. It's not black people's fault that when I see the light-skinned girl that I think she's better or she got more privilege than me. Because that's what the white people tell me. That's what these stories tell me. That's what television tells me. And so we have to think of it with a different lens of it's not our fault. This is what they told us, and we have to fight against that.
I know that when I'm being called light-skinned, that somebody's trying to holler at me or whatever, like it's a compliment. But it's uncomfortable for me to be called light-skinned because it's like you're calling me, you're saying I'm different from you. You're saying that I'm not, and you're excluding me from a community.
Black people aren't the only people who have colorism issues. I think the challenge for the black community is that we've internalized it and we've made it more vicious than it has to be in today's society.
Two best friends are much lighter than me, right? So I have been standing next to my friends and people have literally not said hello to me because they are not seeing me. People literally ignore dark-skinned women, particularly fat dark-skinned women, particularly fat dark-skinned women that don't have no hair. Me, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I mean, it's absolutely getting better because we talk about it. When you deny a problem, you can't fix the problem.
I'm light-skinned, but I have never been treated like I was white in my life. I've always been black. I've never felt any different from anybody else. And when I go to work, when I went to school, I was treated like a black woman. I was disrespected like a black woman. So it bothers me when people think because you're light-skinned, you're treated differently.
Tonight, sitting down with us having some food is one of my good friends, Stephen Marcus. I feel like a lot of people in our community don't even know what colorism is or the fact that they're even colorist. But in order to change anything, we must first educate ourselves and be aware of exactly what's going on. Yeah, a lot of things happen to us, but we must take accountability in order to make changes for the people that are coming after us.
You hit me with your moonlight. Cover me up. Smother me with just your touch.
So today we're going to be discussing colorism. For many that do not know, colorism is a very sensitive topic, and it's pretty much a big thing in not just the States, but everywhere around the States as well, and not just in the Black community in the States. So I'm Chad. We have...
I'm Manny Rose.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Lyrik London.
And we also are here with the guest,
Stephen Marcus.
All right. Thanks for coming out today. So what is colorism? By definition, colorism is a practice discrimination by which those with lighter skin are treated more favorably than those with darker skin. This practice is a product of racism in the United States in that it upholds the white standards of beauty and benefits white people in the institutions of oppression. Personally, I didn't deal with colorism growing up, but I know that many other people that are the same color as me or my skin tone dealt with colorism. What did you deal with growing up?
I dealt with it a little bit as a child. I can't quite remember the instance that happened, but I do remember I must have said something to my mother walking in the house from school regarding my skin tone and playing with kids and whatnot. And she kind of just like froze and turned around and hit me with this whole, you're a beautiful person, you're a beautiful skin tone, don't ever. I think I wanted to change my skin tone. I asked her something about why I gotta be so dark. And she just made me she just dropped everything she did and she instilled in me that there's nothing wrong with you. You are made beautiful, you're made perfect. Like out of all my childhood memories, that's the one that stood out the most to me. Just little stuff in school, just school with the kids, with even my friends, my female friends, that affected them a lot too. You can see the difference with light-skinned girls and the dark-skinned girls.
Yes,
how the boys treated them, and I was a little gay kid, so I wasn't even trying to be in the mix of all that. But
got you.
You can kind of just, on the outside, you can see the segregation between the two.
Yeah. For me personally, when I was growing up, I didn't get teased for my skin tone, but I did hear black this, black that. Of course, like a nickname is black. So I pretty much knew that there was a difference in my skin tone versus other people's, but I never, like you said, your mom pretty much kept in your head that you are beautiful, you are, who you were supposed to be, your color was fine. I pretty much had that same outlook on my skin tone, so I didn't really have issues, but like you said, you did see the division between light skin and dark skin. Growing up in Texas, it's kind of strange how we separate light skin and dark skin versus in other places here. I've noticed that a brown skinned girl is considered light skin versus dark skin, versus in Texas, a brown skinned girl will more so be considered on the dark skin spectrum than light skin. So I just think it's interesting to look at colorism now versus how I looked at it as a child. With y'all being lighter, what is your take on colorism?
Well, it's kind of a little tricky for me because as I got older, I noticed the difference, and I noticed the segregation like you were saying. And I honestly feel like as I was younger, I was completely oblivious to it. And it wasn't until seeing other darker friends of mine have experiences to where I was like, okay, I get it. And it's even when it comes down to just attraction of with men and just other things of that nature, it's light-skinned people are more preferable than darker skinned people.
Yes.
And me being light skinned, I'm gonna just be real and just say, you know what I'm saying, I know this, and I don't think it's cool.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's pretty much the same thing. Even before growing up as a little boy to middle school to high school, beginning of high school, I had dreams okay, I'm going to marry a woman, I'm going to do this before I kind of accepted who I was with. And even in those dreams, it was always a light-skinned woman. Because that's me as somebody who was struggling with such sexuality. I was kind of okay, I want the ideal image of who I feel like I should be. I want kids, I want a wife. Everybody seems to want light skin, so let me go with light skin. Then we had one particular girl in my high school. She's very dark skinned, and literally everybody run her dry.
Oh, wow.
She's a very pretty girl. Even now, still very pretty. And I don't really keep up with her as much, but I still see her. And every time I see her, that's what I think of. People call, and she had a very I won't say her name, but it was very ethnic as well. So people would like chop and screw her name. They would see her. They would consider her dirty, nasty. And she was a sweet girl.
Oh wow!
Like literally didn't do anything. So it's something I've definitely like took notice to. Yeah, even within industries, and especially when you start talking about like white people and what they deem as the one black person they may include on the show, or the one black person they may include in the campaign. Typically, it's somebody who's going to be a little lighter,
yes,
who can kind of pass as maybe black, but maybe mixed with something else.
Yes.
So I definitely
very ambiguous.
Yeah. So it's always been like pretty evident to me.
What about you, Lyrik?
With me, I really didn't, honestly, if I be completely honest, I really didn't tap into it until this year. I grew up, my father's dark skinned, and I was always, I think because my father was dark skinned, I was always, when I started coming into being attracted to men, I was always attracted to dark skinned men. So I always felt like dark was beautiful because it's a mixture in my family. Got light skin, dark skin, very dark. You know, so it's not even brown. You know, like the in-betweens, like you said, like what that's considered light skin now. Well, yeah, anyway. But so I've always kind of like shoot it off. You know, when people are like, oh, you light skin, you could do that, certain things. Like, and then when people say anything about colorism, I'm like, people just being insecure. Like, you just don't love yourself. You know, just being very insensitive to people's experience because it wasn't my experience.
Right.
So when I started to see how much people were becoming bothered by racial things because it's such a racially like sensitive climate that we live in now, it started making me do research because, like I say, I don't speak on anything that I don't know nothing about.
Right.
And when I started to see people's experience, it made it make sense for me. Mm-hmm. And when I start, you know, just like people talking about being bullied and insecure, and people that you know, and they bring it back to the time like you may have been in elementary or high school and be like, yeah, I was suicidal at this point. And yeah, I was picking on people, but I was really very insecure. That's why I was talking about people. And when I was at home, you know, I wanted to kill myself because I felt like I was ugly. I still sometimes feel like I'm ugly because of my skin complexion. And a lot of that has a lot to do with just how outside people, it wasn't necessarily me, and that's why I said I was insensitive to it because I never treated people a certain type of way because I have brothers and sisters that are darker complected, you know what I'm saying? So that's my family, you know, that I love my family. I've always seen beauty in it, but then I understood how people, I understood where people were coming from because everybody doesn't have that. Everybody's perception isn't that. And especially with how we view light and dark, and white always being pure and black always being darkness and evil and bad and ugly. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely, and I'm ashamed to say that though, that like I've just now recently started caring or really like understanding, but I didn't know. Like I just thought people, because it's, we so offended by everything. So I was putting the colorism thing in that pocket too. Like, oh, y'all just want to be mad. People just want to be upset. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that it's a real thing. A real thing indeed.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a real thing. And I think that it's something that is being brought to the forefront by entertainment.
Absolutely.
These days, you know, of course I've watched Basketball Wives, the issue with OG and Evelyn, and all that. I do think that when it comes to media, people is right in your face. It's not like they're trying to hide it. I think that it's pretty much right in your face. I know Matthew Knowles made a few comments last year, I think, and he was saying that Beyonce, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, that they elevated to a level of that they have because of their skin tone, and that, you know, he didn't feel like anybody would care or look at them, even with their talents, if they were darker. And when you really stop and think about it, all of the big superstar women are lighter skin tone. So I think that is something that definitely needs to be discussed more and talked about. And I do think that it's both, that it's two sides to it. It's not strictly, you know, it's not strictly a light-skinned thing that light-skinned people should be responsible for darker-skinned people's feelings or anything like that. But it kind of, it borders the line of racism with white people. It's like it's so easy for a lighter-skinned person to be like, oh, like you said, oh, that doesn't exist. You know, I don't really believe in that because they're not living it.
Penny Proud was the main character. She was a 14-year-old girl played by Kyla Pratt. Her characteristics are listed as she listens and respects her parents. She usually is the mediator when issues arise within her friendships. She's a straight-A student, and she is a poet. Dejanay Jones is Penny Proud's best friend. Her characteristics are selfish, untrustworthy. She's a gossiper and often gets Penny into trouble. She's the loud, aggressive, ghetto girl that no one wants romantically.
Hey, I'm not nervous anymore.
Told you, Penny. She touches me, I'm out of here.
There has also been episodes where Dejanay's siblings made appearances. You know, she has 9 siblings, little baby kids that's always chewing on something, pulling somebody's hair, you know, just very mischievous. I'm sorry, it's a stereotypical hood, ratchet, poor, dark-skinned family. 2 daughters and a son. Claire was the oldest daughter and was played by Jazz Ray Cole in season 1. That's the girl on the left. Her character was a friendly preteen who went through typical growing pains. But by season 2, we saw a completely new Claire. Jennifer Freeman replaced Jazz Ray Cole in season 2, and Claire went from a 12-year-old to a 14-year-old, and her personality noticeably changed as well. The new Claire was airheaded, naive, very desirable, ditzy, and harmless. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air aired originally on ABC from 1990 to 1996. So we have Vivian Banks, who is the wife, was played by Janet Witten and Daphne Reed. Once again, very obvious character and personality changes. Dark skin on Viv was what you call a strong black woman.
I'm a step ahead of you, Miss Greer. I already made out a list of names of people I think we can afford. Let's see. Parker Jr., the Silvers, Lisa from Kojam. She go to my church.
That's okay, Levita. None of those acts are necessary.
You just a ghetto internet, aren't you?
You go and get your little groove on, but you just remember where your bread is buttered.
Jokes. And oftentimes he would refer to Pam as a dog, a beast, nappy-headed, her breath stinks, she can't get a man, she can't keep a job. I mean, honestly, I feel like Pam got it the worst out of all the stereotypical dark-skinned best friends.
So I do want to also, we don't have to discuss it now, but I do want to talk about reverse colorism. If that's a term, even though I don't really believe in reverse racism. But I do think that a lot of times darker skinned people don't take the time to really listen to lighter skinned people and their experience as well, especially lighter skinned people that are black. That are black, who deal with people telling them that they're not black enough, or telling them that, you're a mixed breed and I'm fully black. I actually just came across something on Twitter 2 days ago, and a girl said that somebody called her dyed black, and I laughed at it. Don't get me wrong, I thought it was hilarious, but I also said this is actually an issue that we don't address as well. So it's like, what has been your experiences?
I've never heard.
You never heard that?
Dyed black.
I've never heard dyed black, but I have.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Can I ask y'all 3 a question? Like, have y'all ever been teased for being light skinned?
Yes, all the time.
Okay. Teased how?
Well, this is a disclaimer, I'm gonna get really real. When I was little or younger, I felt like I had to fit in with everybody else because they made me feel like I was weak because of like what I was into, obviously being gay. But it was like, oh, you're not as hard as we are, or everybody was more rugged than I was, and of course they were by default they were more darker than I was. So I always felt the pressure to like be like them to fit in, so I wouldn't get teased, and I kind of adapted that growing up, and I felt like the pressure to be like the darker skinned family members of mine that ostracized me because of how I acted, of course being gay, and just like where I came from. I was just always different from the rest of my family. And growing up as an adult, now I hear the things like, oh, you're dyed black, or oh, you're not black enough, or oh, it's always somebody telling me about myself. Yeah. All the damn time. It's like, okay, shit, I know I'm fucking light skinned. I can't fucking help it. This is how I was born this way. And it's even worse when it comes to when people find out that I'm biracial. It's like all my life I had to literally deal with people not being black enough for my black family and being way too fucking black for my Spanish family. Yeah. And even now, Spanish people treat me a different way because they feel like I'm black. They'll talk to, I speak fluent Spanish. I'll speak Spanish to Spanish people. They'll talk to me in English. I get around black people, I'm obviously like the less black person because the way I talk, and it's just always been a thing, and it's so annoying.
Wow. Yeah, people often don't think about, for some reason, people have limited biracial to black and white, and it's like, that's not the only definition of biracial.
Yeah, and my mama is black as hell. She's your skin complexion, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm black, leave me alone.
There were times I would feel like you had to come a little harder to kind of be seen as black. So I wasn't like teased, but I picked up on particular things. So even think about like when Obama first came out running for president. First things that we were hearing was, he ain't black enough. Because he's not what you typically see as a black man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But after the fact, after he kicked ass in office, everybody claims him.
Oh, my black.
So it was kind of like that. So I didn't have like, I wasn't bullied or like necessarily like pounded about it. But there were particular situations where I could tell like, okay, they think a nigga soft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think people definitely correlate lighter skin with soft and darker skin with hard. I've heard plenty of times, oh, you won't have an issue, you know, walking down the street, unless people, you know, suspected I was gay or something like that. But other than that, it was like, yeah, you'll be okay walking down the street. But I would hear them tell somebody that was lighter, nah, you're a pretty boy, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And, you know, those things kind of stuck with me as I got older. And even now, these days, while of course I'm more educated on the topic and can make I can come up with my own end goal of what I think, I still find myself in some situations putting light skin with a more softer, you know, more palatable, you know, for everything else versus darker skinned people. And it's not right. And I would like to completely stop that, but it's just something that's ingrained in me you know, so deep. So it's kind of awkward. Yeah.
Yeah. Even in grade school, I remember seeing the kids bully light-skinned guys. Like, let's just smack him, see how fast he turns red and stuff like that. Because, you know, I mean, we turn red too. It takes us a while. So they just have him in the corner. Just, you know, I mean, you just know, like, little stuff like that I still remember. So it's weird how it's not weird, but how you guys have the bullying.
And it was worse because I was gay.
Yeah.
Even it was just like another.
So you hit on a point. You said you now are a bit defensive about it. Yeah. So if you think about like the roots of where colorism come from, of course we know it came from slavery. Them purposely, deliberately, like just sowing a seed of separation between lighter and darker. You said it made a little bit more defensive. If you have lighter skinned blacks, you have darker skinned blacks, everybody's being defensive. What issue do you have? Nobody's listening to one another. Right. Everybody's being insensitive to one another. And so I do think now, like presently, it's much better. But for me, I can remember I was in college, like 2010, 2009. I remember, especially when social media was just like beginning to pop off, that was a really, really like hot topic. And people were really like passionate about team light skin, team dark skin. It was like a war. It still is like that, but you kind of
it was bad at one point.
Yeah, it's like particular people like, okay, you go to your corner by yourself. Like we've kind of grown past it in a way, but like during that prime time, it was just like, why is this popping back up? But I do think it probably popped back up because it never really was like dealt with like full on, like really like discussed seriously, and not just via hashtags, not just via social media, but like have a conversation, talk about it, and what do we need to do. And as you said, to your point, where you still have like kind of like mental, I guess, compartments where you automatically kind of assume lighter is softer. I think that's like the first step for just everybody, because we all have things that are just ingrained in us from birth, growing up, from your parents, from school, wherever. But the point is for you to just always be able to kind of like stop, catch yourself, and then deliberately try to like separate. Just know that, well, this doesn't necessarily mean that.
I think women, I will say, deal with it much worse than men. I do want to say that. I think that women, darker skinned women are just like the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to
the bottom of
how they're treated, and especially in media. And which is, I don't want to turn this into a praise Beyonce session, but I thought it was important when she came out with Brown Skin Girl, because I felt like it was. I try not to read too much into when celebrities do certain things, because sometimes you like, is this for personal gain? Or is this for? But regardless, I felt that the message was needed, because the brown skin to darker skinned woman is always overlooked, and a lot of light skinned women tend to just get in because they are lighter skinned. They don't even have to be attractive. It's just like, hey, I'm light skinned, I'm showing up, I'm here, you got the job. And it's like they're so used to a handout. And don't get me wrong, that's not all light skinned women. You do have, your light skinned women that are educated on the topic, and like Zendaya always calls out the fact that she knows that she gets roles sometimes because of her skin tone. People like Yara Shahidi, she's also called it out. Turning down roles that she felt might have been meant for a darker skinned girl. Shuri with Black Panther, I think Amanda Stenberg said that she initially got the role, but it was some controversy behind it. But yeah, she felt that it was supposed to be a dark skinned character, but whatever. But yeah, I think women deal with it way worse than men do. And I think that that's also something that doesn't get talked about enough.
I actually just ran across it's an old picture. It's of Jay-Z, it's of Swiss Beats, it's of Kanye West. And they're all like sitting at a table in Diddy. And all behind them are their women. All the women are light skinned.
I was going to say, I feel like men drive that so much. It's so like in everybody's faces, and I feel like a lot of people don't even realize, like when you look at fucking music videos, like who you see in these music videos, like, and legit real tea, and anybody can literally correct me if I'm wrong. I know instances where celebrities have like gone to clubs and have told like bouncers like only let the light skinned girls in, no dark skinned girls. I've literally, like my sister has literally like been let in a club only because she was light skinned, like in Miami. Wow. And I know this is a real thing. Like I've seen this on social media, and people are like, "Oh no, this doesn't happen." I'm like, "No, this actually happens." Like I've seen this.
That's so. When it comes to, because of course, when you're dating or you're doing whatever, everybody has their preferences. So you have people that say, "Well, I like light skin," or "I like dark skin." Where's the line drawn between what's a preference and what's a prejudice? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good question.
I feel, for me, I feel as if, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I don't really see myself having a type.
So I experienced it when I like first came out, and like one of my first just going to a party and whatnot. There was this guy there, and he was like looking at me and whatnot, and we just started talking. And that phrase came up. I usually don't talk to dark skinned guys, but you're cute, so I'll talk to you. And it didn't hit me at that moment because I was more so in the praise of being the token black one. It didn't hit me in that moment, but after a while, I started hearing that phrase, and I was just like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that every dark-skinned man is ugly? And I'm just a token one? Like, I hate that term. I know females hear it all the time, like, daily. That phrase is just...
And they do it subtle, too, with females sometimes. They be like, oh, you're a cute dark-skinned girl. Instead of saying you're cute for, they'll be like, oh, you're a cute dark-skinned girl, as if dark-skinned girls are not cute.
Supposed to be cute.
Yeah, or not supposed to be cute. It's very strange.
If there is a dark-skinned girl in it, she's usually got problems. She's usually, the one they're trying to get rid of, or the one that's just, just too much.
It's almost like
it's like racism within its own.
It's like the ideal woman that's like desired has some type of mix in her. Like, oh, you ain't all the way black. Look at your hair. Like it's like that type of just like, what's the word I'm looking for? Fetish. Basically,
it's definitely a fetish.
It's a fetish. And then even flipping it, it's also a fetish sometimes when people know, I love dark skinned women. They like dark skinned women only sexually.
Right.
They're sexualizing their entire beings, not really like diving into them as like a whole person.
Yeah.
So
it's like a fantasy, like but you don't want to be with them. You imagine, like, I'll fuck a dark-skinned girl or a dark-skinned guy, but I'll be with someone that's light-skinned. I've seen that happen. And a lot of darker complected people who won't date anything but light-skinned people because of how they
were raised and
how they feel about themselves and what they feel like beauty is. So
yeah, I've heard people say that they want light-skinned kids. That they there was just a video, I posted it on my Facebook, I think it was early in the year. There was a football player, his wife, and 2 other people on a yacht, and they were like, cheers to light-skinned babies. And I was like looking like, whoa, like who says that? Like, I would think you would just be happy for having a baby. But yeah, like they were just like, cheers to light-skinned babies, and laughed about it. And I was kind of like, oh wow, like this is really a thing. Like people really scout specific people to have sex with, to procreate. And that works both ways. Like he said, it's not just light-skinned people only wanting light-skinned kids. You have darker-skinned people that will purposely go out. Some of them won't even deal with a lighter-skinned black because they feel like it's still risking the fact of coming out with a darker child. So they'll go all the way to a white woman or a Spanish woman to make sure that the child has, either a specific texture of hair or a specific skin tone that's going to separate them from that black bubble of being, black. It's strange, but it's a thing.
Yeah. The black community in general has been through a lot.
Yes.
And I think what it is a lot of us that are insensitive to it are not aware of the damage that it has trickled down, because we look at ourselves as being free people now. Like, if people are still in bondage, if people still have that mindset, they're just being, still have this slave mentality, and we don't realize the power that it has taken in our households and how we look at each other, how we treat each other, even from mother and father to child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How you may be in a household where you are the lighter complected or the darker complected brother or sister, and treated differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so sometimes we get mad at each other, but I think the biggest thing, like he was saying, is the awareness of us understanding, okay, this is what's going on, because I think we have to get to that point first and realize it's not just them, it's what they did to us, but we're spreading those seeds, we're spreading that energy amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
And once we get that out there, I feel like there'll be a lot more of lighter and darker people coming together to make sure that the colorism thing is something that stops. Because they're going to keep playing off of it in the media because it gets views and clicks.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they're not going to talk about nothing or do anything. Like we said, the basketball wild situation. Shani talks about that because everybody's talking about it because OG made it a huge thing. So now, let's do a special. And let me sit my fake ass on this couch and act like I give a fuck as a light-skinned woman. And not have her there.
Yeah, I thought that was so strange she didn't have her there.
Yeah, like to really say it face to face, but it's like, but then you treat this person a certain type of, I just was disgusted with the whole situation. From the reunion, like you got this lady sitting in a different room, like, and she's screaming.
Yeah.
She's screaming colorism the whole time. So if anything, let her come in here.
Yeah.
But y'all treating her like a prisoner or an animal when she was the best thing to happen to
the
this
realest
season.
thing. That
yeah, like it wouldn't have been no. If people was like, I hate her, I was like, what season would it have been had OG not been in the middle of everything? But even when it came down to that, I think I took to that so much because it really showed me how much people are blind to colorism. Because at the end of the day, there are so many other black women agreeing with the narrative that these lighter women put out on her, that she was ugly, that she was ghetto, that she was aggressive. So it gets to the point of what is ugly?
What's aggressive?
What about a black dark-skinned woman is ugly if she doesn't have European features? And people kept saying, well, it's not about that. And no, OG may not be everybody's cup of tea. That's one thing. Now, I can't tell you what to think is attractive.
Yeah.
But when I see ugly, I don't see OG. I've seen, what I feel like, and everybody it's somebody for everybody. I try to say that. But if my thing is when you can't really explain, when I'm asking you, because I like to ask, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but what makes her ugly to you? Now, if you say it's a personality thing, but it's like, but then you have another woman that, the 2 other women that are saying that they're brown skinned or darker complected on the show, look a certain way. I'm just gonna leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? Have certain hair textures, even whether they have it naturally about it. You know what I'm saying? And they dress dress a certain way, act a certain way, are held up a certain way, and then you have a woman that wears her hair wraps, strong, very cocky, you know what I'm saying, very strong black woman, and she should be.
And proud of her heritage too.
Yeah, but now she's ugly, and even outside of ugly, she's aggressive.
Aggressive, that part.
That was because the thing is, I can't tell people what their personal preference is, because it could be somebody drop dead gorgeous, somebody gonna say, I don't think she's cute.
Yeah.
But when you call somebody aggressive and mean it, beside a whole cast of people that have been overly aggressive,
everybody
that bully and aggressive, and then you don't understand how.
Yeah.
And I gave Shauna her 2 points when she said that part. Like, I understand, but then why you on the couch trying to, before this, when you was at the reunion, you was like, she's out of her mind, she's crazy, she do too much.
Not true.
Now you sitting on the couch, oh yeah, I understand why she felt like that. You didn't 2 weeks ago when y'all filmed. It was
ridiculous. How can you deem probably the one of the very few girls who has yet to touch anybody else on the cast? You call her aggressive.
Yeah. I thought
and say we're scared.
You say we're scared. But meanwhile, Evelyn is going down chasing her. Well, chasing, I'm sorry.
Cece.
And you're allowing this to happen. And then you jump on OG when she steps in because nobody else is going to step in. And say, oh no, OG, you shouldn't. Well, where were y'all? She was about to go.
Jump on fire.
So for me, it was one thing that really got under my skin. It was literally the perfect example of people being blind to just basically being just colorist.
Yeah.
Whatever the word is. And so, and Evelyn, I mean,
bless her.
Don't bless her. Somebody teach her.
Yeah, bless her.
Please teach her. Somebody teach her.
She's
please.
too old for that. But that's a whole other different topic. I ain't even gonna go down there. It's gonna be on personal shit.
Before we end that, I do want to say that personally, I do think that OG's issue with the women was not exclusively colorism.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
I do think that she had her moments of doing the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt that she was being treated differently just because that, like you said, her features didn't fit in with the other darker skinned women who are more prone to be European features, the nose and the hair texture. And then of course the lighter skinned women are on a whole nother tier. And then she also saw, I don't fit in with the fact that they all wear labels and they always, just primp and pimp. So I think that I put her in a place of, well, it can't be this because my personality is dope. So it has to be the fact that you're a colorist. And it didn't help that they also made so many comments, like Evelyn with the Cece thing, calling her Ling Ling. And, it didn't help that they kept doing things and saying things that really drove her point home. And even if you're not a colorist, it made you look like one at the end of the day. So I just thought it was important that to point that out because people need to understand that it's not always on the surface. Sometimes it's what you're doing and how you're treating people that can make them feel the way that they're saying that you're making them feel. So that's what I wanted to talk about.
I posted about this on Facebook about now everybody wants to be black. And people were like, and I made a joke referencing slavery. I said, but if we brought slavery back, everybody would be right back to Dominican, Latina, blah, blah, blah. And people was like, well, you know that Latina and Dominicans, they were slaves too. But I was like, one, I was joking. Two, we talking about a completely different thing. I can never take away, I'm very aware of slavery being in other places, but I'm talking about black culture in America is completely different than black culture everywhere else. And we have made black culture very a trend and very cool on the outside. So it's cool for other nationalities and races to take and do the stuff on the outside, but nobody wants to deal with what we dealt with on the inside, our history, our culture. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was referring to, and I hate when people just try to drop facts or from the outside fact. I get that. Slavery was everywhere. But at the same time, I don't like this whole I'm black, because we never dealt with that. We were not as popular even 15 years ago. Nobody was claiming to really be black. That wasn't black. Like nobody was doing all that, but now there's
a couple years back, it was like a few years back, and I remember we were on the phone and we had gotten into an argument and he hung up on me and I was like, wow, that was, very mature. So he ended up calling me back, you know, a couple hours later. And I told him, I said, yo, if you ever hang up on me like that again, don't bother calling me back. And he was like, yeah, man, you know, that's why I hung up on you, because you do too much. You too demanding. You ask for too much and stuff like that. I was like, too demanding? I was like, because I want some respect. I was like, what? And he was like, I'm not used to this. I usually date light-skinned women. Yo, that shit really pissed me off. It didn't work out, but it was like, words, like, to me, words are very powerful. And it's like, watch what you say. Like, people be like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. But it's like, that's how you say it.
So, in ending from myself, I do want to tell people that it's important to get out of your own head and get out of your own way of how you were raised, and you know, listen to other people's experiences on colorism and, you know, things that they've dealt with. If they're lighter than you, listen to how they felt, listen to how they feel if they have a story. Try to explain your story without coming at them as if they're the ones that put you in that place of how you think. Just try to get out of your own head, and if you really want the point to be understood, then find a way to execute it without demeaning them and, you know, telling them how you think that they feel versus asking them how they feel. Yeah. That's all I got for y'all today.
All right, cool. Well, let me wait for you to come here. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for tuning in to Manish. We will see you next time. And cut it. All right, let's charge everything up. Focus. Sound. Oh, it sounds so much quieter in here. Y'all hear the difference? You can't really tell the difference, but that.
I can tell.
No, I'm saying like when it was on, you couldn't really, yeah. Mm-hmm.